Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. Today I wanted to talk about the Marksman changes that will be coming to PvE very shortly here, I would assume within the next couple of days, or maybe even today, and wanted to talk about the implications of them. Now, Riot Axes has posted over on the forums detailing the Marksman changes that will be going live, and talking about what they're looking for and the intent behind these changes. So, first things first, these changes are intended to make marksmen into the hyperscaling champions they're supposed to be. Right now the problem is that early setbacks in lane really don't prevent hyperscaling carries. They don't keep them behind. It's not enough to matter at the very least. Sure, okay, I died a couple times in lane, but by mid-game I still hit my Infinity Edge Zeal item, and I'm relevant again. And that's kind of a problem, because it means that lane bullies like Lucian and Draven have mostly been left in the dust, because it doesn't matter if they dominated the lane. They're not setting back the hyperscaling carries enough to matter. And the few that are still in the lane, the few bullies that are still there, are essentially champions that can still scale well into the late and mid game and be really strong carries. So things like Caitlyn and Varus, they're strong in lane, but they also still scale. And champions that are just strong in lane basically don't have a chance to thrive. So, Riot Axes said that they're trying to push back the current 2-item spike to later in the game, which gives other classes and other types of champions time to shine. And it means that setting back the hyper scaling carry is going to have a much bigger impact, because you're not going to be as strong as you normally would be at 2 items, and it will take you longer to get those 2 items. So it gives other champions time to actually be relevant in the mid game and possibly get their team into a situation to close it out. So first, Infinity Edge is being reworked. It's less powerful early in the game, but still great later. Currently, it converts a portion of the crit damage you deal into true damage. It no longer grants the plus 50% crit damage, so you will just get one shot out of nowhere if you do get crit. And this also has the side benefit of still making it good against tanks. So if you're a marksman player, your goal of grinding through tanks will still be accomplished, but you won't just kind of 3-shot people anymore. Zeal will be getting, all Zeal items will be getting some efficiency nerfs. I believe they're just increasing in price, so you won't be able to get them as early, and they won't be quite as strong as they are normally, so that's a good thing. The other thing they're looking at is sustain in the bot lane. Base health regeneration will be nerfed basically across the board on marksmen, and fleet footwork will be nerfed as well, to make it so that if you can get damage onto somebody, it has a better chance of sticking, as opposed to currently where you can kind of back off, lifesteal off a few waves, and be fine. So, the other thing Riot are doing across the board is all marksmen are losing 4 base AD in favor of better AD scaling. And now what this is going to do is it means that marksmen will be less oppressive to lane against, because they won't do so much damage with just their auto attacks, and they'll still scale late game and be very strong. So I think that's a good thing that's going to be happening. And all of these changes kind of open the gateway to other champions being played in bot lane right now. The value of enchanters is going to go up because sustain is down, so champions like Nami and Janna and Karma are all going to be stronger, because their sustain is going to be more relevant, because you can't just heal off of damage. The other thing it does is that mages now have a better chance actually in bottom lane, because they're not going to get poked out quite as hard from auto attack harass, and they have a chance to farm. So now we don't have the actual details of getting mages into the bottom lane, but this at least I think is a step towards that direction. The other thing that Riot are doing is trying to create more playstyles besides crit. Right now, crit is so smooth and synergistic that no other build feels good, and it leaves a lot of champions like Draven's reliance on raw AD or Lucian's spellslinging kind of in the dust. They're not supported as well as champions that just want to straight build crit. So, there are a few item changes and more systemic changes to accomplish this goal. First, Essence Reaver is a standalone item now. It still rewards spellslinging, but it doesn't have any dependence on crit. Besides that, we don't know, but it will be getting a small rework. There is a new item being added called Storm Razor, which causes your first attack in combat to guaranteed crit. So if you have an auto attack for the last 2.5 seconds, your next attack is going to crit, period. So this is supposed to reward champions that have very strong first auto attack trades. So people like Draven, who just kind of want to throw a spinning axe at you every few seconds. That's going to make it, that's essentially designed for him. Now, you are probably already thinking, wow, that's going to be really strong with Duskblade. And yeah, Riot are kind of thinking of that too. In fact, Riot Axes is very anxious and apprehensive about the change. And worst case scenario, they'll just lock those 2 items from being built together, because currently that would provide a very, very, very strong first attack burst that would potentially break the game in a few ways. So So that's going to be in testing. We'll see how overpowered it seems to be. Last Whisper and its upgrades are now back to providing total armor penetration instead of just bonus armor penetration, so it'll be better against high armor targets like tanks. And with this change, Lord Dominic's Regards is losing its Giant Slayer component, and Giant Slayer itself will be removed from the game because it'll be strong enough against tanks by itself with the total armor penetration. There's going to be a new domination keystone called Hail of Blades with similar goals as Stormrazor, making that initial launch into combat much more strong. What it does is it gives you bonus attack speed when you enter combat for your first few attacks. So basically, think Sword of the Divine if you remember that far back. So that will be a new keystone with the intent of increasing your upfront burst, but giving you less overall DPS. And finally, there will be a few efficiency buffs for Blade of the Rune King and the Bloodthirster. I believe they're just getting lower costs, so they should feel better to build. Maybe not first in lane for Bloodthirster, but Blade of the Rune King should feel significantly better for the kinds of champions that traditionally have liked building it. So people like Vayne, for example, will feel better about building Blade of the Rune King right off the bat. Let's talk consequences of most of these. So first, AD fighters and assassins are basically being buffed. They have Hail of Blades now to play with. They have Stormrazor to play with. The new Essence Reaver, Last Whisper, all those kinds of things. All those are now options for AD fighters and AD assassins. Now, Riot have generally viewed this as a positive for those roles. They haven't been that strong, but they are watching them in the short term to make sure that nothing is completely out of line, as I kind of mentioned before with the Stormrazor Duskblade combo, checking to see if those things line up. Oh, there will also be a few small changes to non-crit items. Maw Mortius will probably be getting a buff. Guardian Angel will be getting probably a couple tweaks. And then Executioner's Calling and Mortal Reminder will have small changes to preserve them as their niche purchases that they were always meant to be. The other thing Riot will be looking at are non-traditional crit users. So Tryndamere, Ashe, Jhin, Gangplank, Yasuo, they all use crit in significantly different ways than the vast majority of crit users at the moment. So Riot will be keeping tabs on those champions to make sure that with the new builds, they're not overpowered and they're also not significantly weaker. So it is nice to see that they're thinking ahead on them. So the consequences of this. First, it should feel significantly better to be playing champions, non-traditional marksmen at the moment. Because right now, I mean, your options are pretty much Varus, Caitlyn, because they're going to be bully and they scale well with crit, or try to go for a scaling build with someone like Kog'Maw, or even Jinx has been coming up, Tristana. These champions should be getting hit because they will no longer have the reliability of being gods by the time mid-game rolls around. Instead, they will have to continue scaling for a little bit longer in order to actually be relevant. So this will make them weaker. And now all these changes do mean as well that if you're not playing a lane bully marksman, that you will likely not be relevant for, until a good chunk of the mid game has passed. So let's try to avoid the sort of ADC in 2K17 situation. Yes, marksman will be weaker early. That's sort of the goal. That's the intent. And it's not going to be the kind of thing where Riot are, where they're going to be strong. If you're playing a marksman in the bottom lane, you are going to have to scale up in order to be relevant. So just keep that in mind for everyone who's going to be playing ADC after these changes drop, because I do think these have a pretty good chance of solving the issues that we've been complaining about for a long time, which is that, wow, marksmen are really, really strong and they just dominate the game, and whoever, better bot lane wins, that sort of thing. Hopefully this does a lot to address those concerns, and I think it will, because if you have more time for other roles to be relevant, if you have, your mid laner is doing well, they're gonna be the strongest champion in the game for a significantly longer portion of time. If you have a fighter on the top lane who's snowballing, they're gonna be stronger for a longer portion of time, as opposed to currently where as soon as the marksman hits 2 items, they're the best champion in the game, put all your resources into them. So other classes will have more time to be relevant and to be the sort of best champions for their team, while you still have the marksman there as sort of the scaling option that will continue to help you guys out in the late game. I think these changes, they look interesting. I'm still going to have to digest a lot of the changes, and we don't have everything quite yet, so we don't know, for example, what the new Essence Reaver is actually going to do. We don't know the cost increases on the Zeal items, though I believe they're going to be going back up to 2,900 gold. That's what they were before the efficiency pass we had, I believe, last year. So hopefully those items take a little bit longer to come out, but we don't have the full change list yet. We don't know everything that's going to be happening. A few champions will have some other changes that we don't know about yet. Riot aren't tweaking everyone equally across the board. They are changing some champions more than others. So we will have to see exactly how Riot end up doing this. But I have some pretty good confidence that this is going to work out for the better, I think. Like I've been saying, this should address the problem of marksmen scaling up too strong. It should help bully marksmen like Lucian and Draven and even Corki to a certain extent come back into the bot lane and feel welcome there. Just in general, I think this is going to be good. I'm excited to see it play out, and I'm excited to see on the PvE. I will probably be doing an article about it in the next couple of days when it finally does hit live, so stay tuned for that. But anyways, let me know what you guys are thinking of all of these changes down in the comment section below. I will have Riot Axes post linked in the description so you can take a look at it yourself and basically give me your thoughts on what you think about these changes, especially if you're a marksman main. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Will this actually help fix the problem? Will this make something completely broken that I didn't think about? You know, that sort of thing. Let me know, and also don't forget to leave it on the thread as Riot Axes is looking for feedback. There are a lot of things that Riot are unsure about, so if you guys think you have some context, let them know. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave a like. And if you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. And if you're looking for more Grab the Lantern content, you can check out my blog, link down in the description. I upload an article just about each and every single day for your enjoyment. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And I'll talk to you all later.